Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is 5:19:20. After many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. Then one is able to cut the knot of bondage of ignorance, which bound him because of varied fruitive activities. As a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva, who is transcendental, free from attachment to the material world, beyond the mind and words, and anilayane, independent of everything else. That Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is the real path of liberation. So basically this verse talks about what is liberation and how one can get it. And also at the same time it talks about how to destroy one's material desires. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, Brahman realization is the beginning of liberation, and Paramatma realization is still further advancement toward the realm of liberation. But one achieves real liberation when he understands his position as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Muktir hitva nyatharupam swarupena vyavastitihi. When it comes to these three realizations, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, they are not something different. It is described, Brahman and Paramatma realizations are incomplete realizations of Supreme Lord, Bhagavan. For example, I don't have specs. So say I take some specs and put, which has very high number. So everything will look blur. But I'm able to see something on the other side. But I'm not able to see a very crystal clear image. So that is called as Brahman realization. And little more, when the clarity emerges, that is called as Paramatma realization. And fortunately, when I realize that this is because of the specs and I remove it, and I'm able to see the person, see the thing as it is, the HD image, that is Bhagavan realization. This is a very simple understanding about Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Because many times people feel that these three are different realizations, different entities. No, they're not different realizations or different entities. It's a realization about the same person in a progressive manner, step by step. That's what Prabhupada is saying. The beginning of liberation is Brahman realization. That's how the beginning of liberation begins. Now the person has not yet got liberated. He's still there, starting his journey. And little more advancement towards that is Paramatma realization. And finally, when one understands that his position is eternal servant of Kṛṣṇa, Jivara Swarupaya Krishnera Nityadas, that is the eternal constitutional position. And that is called as liberation. Muktir hitva nyatharupam swarupena vyavastitihi. How many times Prabhupada quotes the shloka to explain this concept? That what is mukti, liberation? Liberation is nothing but understanding the constitutional position of ours as servant of Kṛṣṇa. How can we understand bhakti? Or I should put it as, how can we understand our constitutional position? Because sometimes devotees have this confusion. So self-realization is needed? Or should I directly get God realization? Or how can I get both? So when it comes to the process of Bhakti Yoga, we aim at understanding the Lord and simultaneously we understand ourselves. Therefore, when this question is asked that how can someone understand you? And Kṛṣṇa is saying 1855, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah. Okay, so what will happen? If I understand you through Bhakti Yoga, tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tad anantaram. You'll come back to me, to the spiritual world. So in this way, we understand that it's not that a separate realization is needed for one's own self-realization. Self with a small s. Just by having self-realization, S with capital one, that is Bhagwan realization, one will understand himself also. Therefore, Bhakti Yogi does not go progressively step by step. He directly tries to understand the Supreme Lord, realize the Supreme Lord through the process of Bhakti Yoga, and actually other realizations will fall in place. So now here comes the question, okay, through Bhakti Yoga I can understand the Lord, realize the Lord. So how does one begin Bhakti Yoga? How does one begin devotional service? Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the material world, in the bodily concept of life, everyone is working in the wrong direction. When one becomes Brahma Bhuta, spiritually realized, one understands that he is not the body and that working in the bodily concept of life is useless and misdirected. So Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, Bhagwan realization. So this is the stages, step by step the person is understanding the higher aspects. But here Prabhupada is saying that in the material world, in the bodily concept of life, everyone is working in the wrong direction. What is the wrong direction? So we are going. So this Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan that we discussed is towards liberation. And what about this bodily concept of life? Bondage. Wrong direction. With every act of sense gratification, the person is going to get bound. Every act. Any simple act we take up in this material world will bind us to this material world. Now someone might say, no, it might be okay to do some sinless activity, but for my sense enjoyment. But you know what? Even a sinless activity done for one's own sense enjoyment will end up creating some impression, enhancing our or increasing our desire for sense gratification. And since we desire for sense gratification, Paramatma is noting down. And then he says, okay, no problem, next life you fulfill. And the next, and the next, and the next. It goes on and on and on. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying it's wrong direction. When one becomes a Brahma Bhuta, spiritually realized, one understands that he is not the body and that working in the bodily concept of life is useless and misdirected. So only when someone comes to this platform, then it is possible to understand. Otherwise, it's very difficult. When one becomes Brahma Bhuta, spiritually realized, one understands that he is not the body and that working in the bodily concept of life is useless and misdirected. So only when someone comes to this platform of Brahma Bhuta, that is on being on the spiritual platform, then he'll understand that this bodily concept of life is useless. This is actually binding me to this material world. This realization will come. Therefore, here it is said, Srila Prabhupada is saying, with this understanding, then his devotional service begins. As Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad Gita, please repeat. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kangshati Samaha Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Labhate Param. One who is thus transcendently situated realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So here is a very important thing. So the person who realizes Supreme Brahman, what will happen to him? He will not have hankering, he will not have lamentation. Na shochati na kangshati. And another very important thing is, he is joyful, he is prasanna. And in that state, very beautifully it is described, in that state he attains pure devotional service. So now to come to the platform of pure devotional service also, one has to be in this state of no desire for material sense gratification, or at least aspiring that I don't want to have material desires, at least this much. Now, this we understand, okay, so this is what one gets when one starts practicing devotional service. But the question comes that how does one's devotional service begin? It's all very easy to say that, if you're going in wrong direction, you'll get bound, and you'll go in the right direction, you'll get liberated. But the question is that how will anyone come to the platform of devotional service? Srila Prabhupada writes to a purport, 5:19-20. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature. So there's the same translation of this verse. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. So this is point number 1. Then one is able to cut the knot of bondage to ignorance, which bound him because of varied fruitive activities. This is point number 2. Third, as a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva, who is transcendental, free from attachment to the material world, beyond the mind and words, and independent of everything else. So this is point number 3, which talks about associating with devotees. Now you see, what is the start of pure devotional, or what is the beginning of devotional service? Association with pure devotees. Now, a deeper understanding to this is given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He writes the stages of bhakti. We know stages from Shraddha to Prema. Those are 9 in number. But then he gives 14 stages. He says that this is how a person progresses. So the 9 stages of bhakti from Shraddha to Prema also has got some subsections, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elaborates in his commentary to Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, in that section, shloka number 16-20, in that section. Please repeat. Satam kripa mahat seva Shraddha guru padashraya Bhajaneshu spriha bhaktir Anarthapagamah tatah Nishtharuchir asaktir Rati premath darshanam Harer madhuryanubhava Ityartha Chaturdashi. So here are Chaturdasha, that is 14 stages of bhakti. First one is Satam Kripa. So how does a person get association of devotees? Because that's a very big thing. In fact, throughout Bhagavatam, this association of devotees is glorified so much. How will one get association of devotees? It's not that just like that I'll get association of devotees. First thing is Satam Kripa. Satam means devotees. Kripa is causeless mercy. So Satam Kripa is the causeless mercy of the devotees. So someone a devotee sees some person on the street and he prays that, oh Lord, please bless him so that he becomes a devotee. And what is his qualification? Maybe nothing. He might have just helped someone, or he might be doing some pious activity, and suddenly the devotee's heart, it cries for Kṛṣṇa's mercy onto that person, that, oh Lord, please bless that devotee. Please bless that person so that he becomes your devotee. So just by that prayer, the person gets special mercy of the Lord. That is Kripa, causeless mercy of the devotee. Very, very wonderful thing to note. This particular shloka, you see the first line in the translation. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. So after many, many births, when results of one's pious activities mature. Now I was wondering, what is the results of pious activities? At least for devotees who have been hearing Bhagavatam class for quite some time, we'll understand that here pious activities, we're talking about Bhaktonmukha Sukriti. We're not talking about any ordinary material pious activity. We're talking about Sukriti, which the person earns by practicing Bhakti, the angas of Bhakti. So now here comes a very important understanding that the first thing to take place in the life of a living entity is the causeless mercy of the devotee, Satam Kripa. By that mercy, then his account begins. The account of spiritual life begins. So you can imagine that person who might have, or that devotee, whoever that devotee might be in whichever lifetime of ours, who might have looked at us or prayed for us or given us some prasad or dragged us to some program or whatever. That's how our spiritual life has begun. So amazing. And sometimes very immaturely we preachers might say that I taught him devotional service. Sorry, it began long time back. Many lifetimes back this has begun. Now when the person has enough level of Sukriti, now he is able to get an opportunity to associate with devotees, sit in the association of devotees. So Satam Kripa is the first stage that he talks about. Second stage is Mahat Seva. So now after coming in the association of devotees, he gets an opportunity to serve the devotees. So Mahat Seva, service to the devotees. This is Mahat Seva. So what happens when I serve devotees? Those who are fixed up devotees, serving them. But obvious when we serve any devotee in the community, Lord is very pleased, no doubt. But then Lord has his favorites also, who are very dear to him. And they are the pure devotees, they are the fixed up ones. When those are served, great service is done, great service is done. Where is this spoken? Great service is done. Okay, please repeat. Shushusho Shaddadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. So this is the service to devotees. Syan Mahat Sevaya. So Mahat Seva, here comes the Mahat Seva part. Service to devotees. So when service to devotees is done, great service is done. I always had this question that I might be serving devotee and it might be an indirect service he might not know also. Because many times it happens that say some great soul comes and many background services are done. Many background services. Say there is a stage, there is Vyasasana. So someone is cleaning the Vyasasana, someone cleaning the stage, decorating the place. Some devotees might be cooking and getting. Now while serving, that person might not know. He might not know that who has cooked. Who has made the garland which is put around his neck. He might not know any of it. But then since that seva is done, with a mood to serve Mahat, you know what happens? Kṛṣṇa showers mercy. Because mercy is only one. That is Krishna's mercy. That comes through a different channel. And here, when Mahat Seva is done, Kṛṣṇa showers his mercy. Now what happens when Kṛṣṇa showers his mercy? Okay, by the way, 2 points here. One is directly the Mahat blessing. That is there. So many times people want the direct blessing. So the people hang around the Mahat, catching his feet forcefully and whatever. This is case 1. Case 2, where the Mahat might not know what service you have done. Still the mercy flows. And in both the cases, where is the mercy coming from? It's coming from Kṛṣṇa. Because Kṛṣṇa, he is very pleased saying, oh, you are serving my devotee? I'm very pleased with you. Tathastu. He gives his mercy. Therefore, I used to always wonder that, say, some great soul is walking somewhere on the street and I'm able to see from behind and I'm paying obeisances here. So what's the use of that? So many times you will see people come close and then they'll pay obeisance. Okay, that's also good. But then as soon as we see, we are expected to pay obeisance. So I used to always wonder, इनको तो पता ही नहीं आशीर्वाद कैसे देंगे? भगवान देंगे आशीर्वाद. Lord will shower his mercy. Because Lord is very pleased. Oh, you are respecting my pure devotee. You are respecting my devotee. Tathastu. Showers his mercy. This is called as Mahat Seva. Even this is a Seva, by the way. This is also Seva. Offering obeisances or doing anything indirectly, directly. Everything is Seva. So first stage is Satam Kripa, where the person causelessly prayed for us or gave us some prasad or whatever. Second is Mahat Seva. After that, when Lord's mercy flows in life, then the person gets Shraddha. Now this is the third stage, Shraddha. So just imagine, before Shraddha we have two stages. It's not that just like that you'll come to the stage of Shraddha. And what is Shraddha all about? Shraddha is all about unflinching faith in scriptures. Unflinching faith in the fact that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one can shake him, in that particular understanding. Unflinching faith in the goal of life, that is Krishna Prema. So these three, there might be many others, but these three are the major ones. Unflinching faith in scriptures, unflinching faith that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, unflinching faith that the goal of life is none other than Krishna Prema. Only one goal, that is Krishna Prema. So you just imagine, person who has these three, he is on the level of Shraddha. Usko koi hila nahi sakta wahan se. That's what it means. Then after getting this faith, then he has this question that how to advance in Bhakti, how to advance more. Then he takes shelter of a superior. That is Guru Padashraya. He takes shelter of the lotus feet of a Guru. Then the Guru teaches how to worship and what services to do and so on and so forth. So now the person develops Bhajaneshu Spriha. This is the fifth stage that the person is in. Bhajaneshu Spriha. It means eagerness to worship. Now he develops eagerness. Mujhe aur karna. I want to do more bhajan. I want to do more sadhana, more seva. So that comes into picture. And then when that matures, because already he is executing the angas of bhakti, when that becomes more steady, then the sixth stage is called as bhakti. The sixth stage is called as bhakti. Now this is a very nice thing to note. That looks like bhakti is beginning at the sixth stage. Bhakti has already begun, but just the execution of the angas of bhakti properly. Then when the execution of angas of bhakti are happening properly, with proper understanding, now comes the next stage, that is anarthapagamam, that is anartha nivritti. Disappearance of obstacles, disappearance of the inauspicious things, including Nam Aparad. So this takes place here. Then the next step after that, now these are all easy steps. Once someone crosses this stage, after that all are the easy stages and very, very, very alluring stages on the spiritual platform. Any sadhaka who wants to advance in bhakti, he will be very allured by all these different stages. The eighth stage is Nishtha. Very steady in bhakti, very much steady. Never will get a doubt that should I do, not do, and various other aspects of Nishtha, where many doubts and many obstacles will be missing. He is very fixed up, Nishtha. Then after that, when he is steadily practicing bhakti, the ninth stage is Ruchi, that is taste. Now, the heart is no more hankering for sense objects. So he is at this stage now. The heart is no more hankering for sense objects. Now when he is doing this very nicely, with taste he is doing, now no one can separate him from the angas of bhakti. That is the 10th stage, and that is called as asakti. Firm attachment. Firm. He cannot give up now. He cannot give up. He might be ready to give up his life, but not the services that he is rendering for the pleasure of Krishna. He will not give up that. Now after asakti comes rati. Rati is the attraction, the attachment that he has developed for Krishna. So, firm attachment, and this is more of fondness that he has developed for Krishna. He is very enlivened when he is practicing devotion, when he is rendering service. So that is the stage of rati, his attraction, fondness. And the 12th stage is prema. Now prema is translated as devotional service. So actually, whenever there is the word bhakti that comes in the scriptures, it talks about prema bhakti. It talks about shuddha bhakti. But then many times we feel that whatever we are doing, that's what is bhakti. But actually bhakti, prema is defined here as devotional service or devotional love. And then 13th one is darshanam. This 13th stage, where now the person gets the vision. Now till now he was blind. Now he gets the vision. And what is that vision all about? He internally, he's able to get that spurti, he's able to get some glimpses, or he's able to see the Lord within. Let me put it as simple as in this way. He's able to see the Lord within. He will take darshan of the Lord. And the last one, 14th one is Harer Madhuryanubhava. Madhuryanubhava. Where he has direct experience of Lord Hari's sweetness. Here comes face-to-face darshan. That's the 14th. So these are the 14 stages of bhakti, which starts with Satam Kripa and it goes till Harer Madhurya Anubhava. Tell me, if someone reaches the 14th stage, what else he wants in life? He'll not be attracted by anything of this material world. If someone reaches this 14th stage. So these are the different stages, and all glories to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and all the acharyas who have made our life so easy. By their mercy, we understand, okay, iske baad ye hai, iske baad ye hai, iske baad ye hai. And we also understand, abhi to shayad shraddha pe atke hai. Abhi isko aage badhana hai. We start offering prayers. We understand that I'm not yet there. So in this way, these are the 14 stages. So the question is asked, how does one gets the understanding, such understanding that, no, this is bodily concept of life, I should move towards liberation, I should serve Kṛṣṇa. All that begins from the first one, that is Satam Kripa. By the mercy of some devotee who has done some prayer to the Lord for our progress or our beginning or start of devotional service. That's Satam Kripa. So now, after coming to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, after receiving this Kripa, the person starts practicing Bhakti. So you can imagine, Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, Shraddha, then Guru Padashraya, Bhajaneshu Spriha. So he starts practicing Bhakti. So now, what happens is while practicing Bhakti also, how many times Srimad Bhagavatam talks about it? How many times Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that point? That practice has to be free from what? It has to be free from the desire for liberation, sense gratification. Bhukti and Mukti. It should be free from Bhukti and Mukti desires. Spriha. Then, that's called as pure devotional service. To be more specific, free from the spriha or desire for Mukti and Bhukti and rendering service to Kṛṣṇa for his pleasure. That is pure devotional service. Anyabhilashita shunya, that particular shloka. So now when I start rendering devotional service, then the second thing will take place that is mentioned in this verse. Because immediately as soon as I start practicing pure devotional service, immediately the symptoms of Shuddha Bhakti will manifest. Immediately. So, many times people ask, then what is the definition of a pure devotee? First and foremost, his only desire is he wants to serve Kṛṣṇa for Kṛṣṇa's pleasure. That's it. Anything that he does it for Kṛṣṇa's pleasure. This is the first criteria. He does not have any other desire. And second is, that manifests in the activities. He cannot say कि मेरे मन में है, लेकिन मैं बाहर दिखा नहीं रहा हूँ कोई कुछ भी सर्विस करके. That is not valid, sorry. If it is there in your heart that you want to serve Kṛṣṇa for his pleasure, it will manifest in the form of executing 64 angas of bhakti. So now the second criteria that comes is, how much time are you investing? How much time are you investing? Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, in 18th chapter, he writes as a commentary to one of the verses, where he says that maximum time when it is invested in practicing the angas of bhakti, he uses the word maximum time when is invested in practicing the angas of bhakti, so that person qualifies as Pradhani Bhuta Bhakta, and Pradhani Bhuta Bhakta can be called as a pure devotee. So maximum time, now how much maximum time? So to this Ramanacharya adds his comment. He highlights and he says that more than 8 hours. More than 8 hours. He puts that point. Therefore, they have this thing, Sri Vaishnavas, because they also aspire for attaining Krishna in one life. How are Gaudiya Vaishnavas a little more greedy? They want to attain Krishna within this life. Sri Vaishnavas talk about leaving the body and then going to Vaikuntha. So there's a little difference. So they are also aspiring for one life. So you'll see that even in the culture of Sri Vaishnavas, they also talk about full-time devotional service. No doing any material activity. Full-time devotional service. Grahasthas, in fact, they don't have any brahmacharis or sannyasis. Very few. Maximum are grahasthas, and grahasthas become full-time devotees. And their only activity is serving Krishna. That's it, nothing else. Or to be more specific, serving Narayan. To be more specific, yes. So, the one who is executing bhakti more than 8 hours, or I should put it as more than half of the wakeful time, and having a desire to serve Krishna for his pleasure, that person can be called as a pure devotee. Now, when he starts rendering bhakti like this, then the symptoms of Shuddha Bhakti will manifest. And there are 6 symptoms of Shuddha Bhakti as mentioned by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Please repeat. Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lagutakrit Sudurlabha Sandrananda Visheshatma Shri Kṛṣṇa Karshani Chasa. So 6. Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Lagutakrit. Then we have Sud Durlabha, Sandrananda Visheshatma, Shri Kṛṣṇa Karshani. These are the 6. So, if I have to just summarize, Kleshagni means destruction of all suffering. Second, Shubhada bestows auspiciousness. Moksha Lagutakrit makes liberation very insignificant. Therefore, our acharyas, they always keep condemning liberation because for them they see it as insignificant because they are pure devotees. Sudurlabha, very rarely attained. Sandrananda Visheshatma, it is composed of special concentrated bliss. And Shri Kṛṣṇa Akarshani, it attracts Krishna. So, we talk about sadhana, we talk about bhava, and then prema. So, in the first few stages of bhakti, Kleshagni and Shubhada are manifested. In the next few stages of bhakti, Moksha Lagutakrit and Sudurlabha, that is manifested. And the last 2, that is Sandrananda Visheshatma and Shri Kṛṣṇa Akarshani, is manifested at the level of prema. So anyways, we are discussing the first one, Kleshagni. Because this particular verse, if you see the translation, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. Then one is able to cut the knot of bondage to ignorance, which bound him because of varied fruitive activities. So association of pure devotees and cutting of ignorance in between, what all is happening, that has to be understood very clearly. That is Shuddha Bhakti. And then how does this cutting of knots of ignorance happen? That is Kleshagni. So in Kleshagni, what happens? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu very beautifully describes that at the stage of Kleshagni, the 3 entities are destroyed in sequence. So what are the 3 entities? So Papa Bija and Avidya. And here this verse talks about destruction of Avidya. So Papa means sinful reactions. So in that all that we can put. Aprarabdha, Prarabdha, Kuta, Bija, all that comes in this Papa. Now this Papa is first thing that is destroyed. Then the next thing that is destroyed is Papa Bija, that is the sinful desires. And Prabhupada translates sinful desires as material desires. So any material desire in the realm of Shuddha Bhakti is considered to be sinful desire. Now, after the destruction of Papa, then Papa Bija, then Avidya is destroyed. So here we're talking about the destruction of Avidya in this particular verse. Then Avidya is destroyed. So many times this question is asked that how to understand that Avidya is destroyed. The person will not see any sinful desire in himself. To be more precise now, from Prabhupada's definition, he'll not see any material desire in himself. And if you want to enhance this definition more in a positive way, he will have only one desire, that is to serve Kṛṣṇa for his pleasure. This will be the only desire that will manifest. So this particular concept is very beautifully described by 4 Kumaras when they saw the Lord. They say this. Please repeat. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santah tadvannariktamatayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganastam arnam bhaja vasudevam. Here it is said, Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya. And Prabhupada writes, translates it as, the devotees by increasingly serving the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. So what happens to them? Karmashayam, gratitam. All that knots of ignorance which are there, udgratayanti santah. So all that is untied. All that knot is untied. So this is called as destruction of avidya. So in the category where Rupa Goswami is describing Kleshagni, in that these 3 sections are there. Destruction of Papa, Papa Bija and Avidya. So in destruction of Avidya, Rupa Goswami quotes this verse. And he says that this is the proof. In this way, Avidya is destroyed. Now, in this particular purport, Prabhupada writes, because there's a Bhagavatam shloka, 422-39. So in this shloka's purport, Prabhupada writes a very important thing. Desires for fruitive activities are strongly rooted. But the trees of desire can be uprooted completely by devotional service, because devotional service employs superior desire. Now this is something that we keep speaking about. Higher taste, param drishtva nivartate. So, from many, many lifetimes, this tree has grown, the tree of material desires. The roots are very deep. And now we are expected to uproot that. Because as soon as we say that I'm rendering pure devotional service, it basically goes on to say this tree is not there anymore. It's completely uprooted. And here Prabhupada is saying that how can this be uprooted? Only by devotional service, because devotional service employs superior desire. One can give up inferior desires when engaged in superior desires. This is seen in the material world also. When they have superior desires, they'll give up their inferior ones. We can see that in small kids. They might be attached to small toys in their childhood. Then later on, they might get attached to their tricycle, and then after that bicycle, and then bike. Now just imagine when someone is attached to bike, will he be still attached to his khilona, his toys, which he was playing in the cradle? Even in the material world this is seen when it comes to superior material desires. But when it comes to material desires in toto, if you want to get rid of that, we need to have something very, very superior. To try to stop desires is impossible. One has to desire the Supreme in order not to be entangled in inferior desires. So, in toto, if you want to get rid of the material desires, what are you supposed to desire? Supreme Lord. I just want to serve Supreme Lord. That should be the only desire. I want to attain Kṛṣṇa. That should be the one-pointed desire of a devotee. If the sadhaka is really interested to get rid of all the material desires that he has in his heart, if he really want to uproot the tree which has grown from many, many lifetimes, then that devotee, that sadhaka, has to just have only one desire, that I want to attain Kṛṣṇa. And as Gaudiyas, to be more specific, I want to attain Kṛṣṇa within this life, this desire. And we should feel bad for it. Whenever we get material desires, whenever we have any desire for sense gratification, we should feel bad for it. And we should express that to Kṛṣṇa. Look at my fallen state. I have been chanting Hare Krishna, I have been doing services. I have also become a full-time devotee. That's how people call me as. But still, O Lord, material desires have not gone. Still, I desire sense gratification. So a devotee should feel guilty every time when he desires sense gratification. That guilt feeling will help us to pray to the Lord for the right thing. And we should actually analyze for ourselves, at least sometimes I do this activity for myself, that how many years have passed, how many rounds we have chanted till now. If you count all the 16 rounds put together and all the 64s that we have done in our entire life, all the 32s, if you count all that, how many rounds we have done, how many services we might have rendered. But then still, why these material desires are there? Why they have not gone completely? That shows that I am still not rendering pure devotional service. That makes it very clear. Because if I am rendering pure devotional service, then all these inferior desires would have gone completely. They would have gone. But still, if I have these material desires, it shows Shuddha Bhakti is not happening. Now, the question is, when it is going to happen then? When the devotee, he tries asking that question to himself, that when that desire or when pure devotional service will begin in my life? When will I attain Kṛṣṇa? It has already been so many years. So many years. So many lifetimes are there, but in this lifetime also, so many years. When will that day come? Especially full-time devotees or the devotees who have joined full-time devotional service, they should ask this question to themselves, because the way the days are passing is very, very scary. Very, very scary. So here, if the question comes that how does the desires automatically stop? Prabhupada writes, as long as one is unable to stop the desire for material enjoyment, there is no possibility of becoming liberated from the entanglement of material existence. It may be argued that the waves of river are incessantly flowing and that they cannot be stopped. But the waves of the river flow towards the sea. When the tide comes over the river, it overwhelms the flowing of the river, and the river itself becomes overflooded. Then the waves from the sea becomes more prominent than the waves from the river. Similarly, a devotee with intelligence plans so many things for the service of the Lord in Kṛṣṇa consciousness that stagnant material desires become overflooded by the desire to serve the Lord. So here we understand one important point, that we cannot stop material desires. We cannot stop desires for sense enjoyment just like that. No, that's not possible. So how that is possible? That is mentioned here by an example, very wonderful example, analogy that Prabhupada gives. By the way, this is in the purport to 422.39. So he gives us a very wonderful understanding that when the rivers are flowing into the sea, so river is obviously flowing with a great flow, but then the sea also has its effect. So the sea will also push the water. So here it is said that if the waves from the sea becomes more prominent than the waves of the river, that is the case for a devotee. A devotee with intelligence plans so many things for the service of the Lord in Kṛṣṇa consciousness that stagnant material desires become overflooded by the desire to serve the Lord. So this is the state that all of us have to achieve. We have to achieve the state where the desire to serve overfloods all our material desires. So this is the flood that we are supposed to expect in our day-to-day life, in our sadhana bhakti. So we have been hearing that the material desires in the heart will be cleansed by the Lord and so on and so forth. Which shloka? Shrunvatam swakatha Kṛṣṇa punya shravana kirtanaha hridayantasto yabhadrani vidunoti surat satam. So this particular shloka says the Lord personally He enters the heart and He cleanses the heart. So here comes the question, how does this really happen? And I was very amazed to read Srila Jiva Goswami throwing some light on this. He says that Lord enters the heart. How He enters? Through the topics. the glories, the glorification of the Lord, when we hear, so through those topics of glorification, Lord enters our heart. Because Lord is absolute. His name, form, qualities, pastimes, all the description are absolute. So here we understand that when it comes to hearing the topics of the Lord, so Lord is entering our existence. So now, when we remain in that thought, when we keep recollecting these different descriptions, and when we keep meditating on these different descriptions, these descriptions have the power to destroy the desires, Jiva Goswami says. So antastaha means these glories remaining in our thoughts. And abhadrani, all the sinful desires, material desires, are completely destroyed. So this is what takes place. So more we hear about the Lord, so what happens? More we are able to remember the Lord, more we are able to contemplate on different subject matters. And when the same meditation, the same contemplation, when it goes higher and higher and higher, that gets into deep meditation. That's what is called a samadhi. So when the person remembers the glories of the Lord, this wonderful thing takes place. That is, all the material desires are destroyed. Therefore, again and again, Shravan is given so much of importance. More we do Shravanam, at least at this sadhaka level, we'll understand that more we do Shravanam, we'll realize what to do and what not to do. That's the basic thing. After that, with time, we'll be able to remember the glories of the Supreme Lord, and that is going to help us in various ways, specifically to destroy our material desires. Therefore, how to destroy the material desires? If this is the question that we ask, then the answer is more Shravanam. That's how our Kṛṣṇa consciousness will begin. Therefore, especially Harikshirpa and myself, obviously I've got it from Harikshirpa only. So we focus a lot on Shravanam. Therefore, the entire community that we are building in ISKCON Whitefield is all based on Shravanam. We don't have any other training that we give. In fact, when we were planning about the NBT schedule also, so at that time also we had the major portion of NBT as Shravanam. Because when Shravanam is done properly and when the person trains his mind properly, then what will happen is he'll render devotional service nicely. He'll be able to practice nicely. And while practicing also, he has to keep hearing so that he keeps fine-tuning various aspects, especially the desire aspect. Therefore, this question that how to destroy the material desires has only one answer, that is rendering devotional service. And how it happens is very clear now. Basic thing is at the level of thoughts, when the Lord resides in the form of His glories, naturally the material desires will go away. Therefore, we have to execute devotional service 24/7, ideally. If not possible, at least maximum time of the day, we have to execute. Prabhupada writes in the purport to the current verse, in fact the translation, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is a real path of liberation. Because people separate devotional service and mukti. In fact, many so-called yogis, they say that bhakti is meant for those who cannot do jnana and yoga. So bhakti is very, very nimna, it's very, very insignificant. Even in yoga ladder, they'll put bhakti below and they'll put yoga at the top. Ashtanga yoga at the top. So here, what is the real path of liberation? This translation says Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva. Devotional service is actually liberation. So two things to note. Path to liberation is devotional service. And what is liberation? Devotional service. Therefore, our sadhana and sadhya are same. In my initial days, I used to hear this and I used to get very much confused. What is sadhana and sadhya same? And Prabhupada answers this very beautifully. When someone asked him, what is the goal of chanting? What did Prabhupada say? More chanting. So what is the goal of rendering devotional service? To render more devotional service. And when the person is able to render more devotional service uninterruptedly, very greedy, to just do devotional service, render devotional service, that person is the one on the platform of Krishna Prema. That is what is Krishna Prema. So, without prema is what we are doing now. That is rendering service to the Lord. And after attaining prema, we'll render devotional service to the Lord with prema. So that's the only difference. That's the only difference. It remains constant. Therefore, sadhana is devotional service. Sadhya is also devotional service. The only difference is prema. Only difference is prema. Therefore, devotional service is actually liberation. Attaining prema bhakti is actually liberation. When one is attracted by the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his mind is always engaged at the Lord's lotus feet, he is no longer interested in subjects that do not help him in self-realization. In other words, he loses all attraction for material activities. Now, there's something which is very important to note. This attracted by the beauty of Supreme Personality of Godhead, attraction to his name, form, qualities and pastimes. This is what it means. Attraction to name, form, qualities and pastimes. So when someone gets attracted to this, then he loses all attraction for material activities. It's not that first I'll get detached from all the attraction to material world and then I'll get attracted to Kṛṣṇa. No. It's simultaneous. To the degree that we get attracted to name, form, qualities and pastimes of the Lord, to that degree we'll get detached from various inferior desires of this material world. Therefore here, Prabhupada is saying, in other words, he loses all attraction for material activities. So this is something that with time we have to achieve. Now, as devotees in the Brahmachari ashram, we don't have any material activity to do, but we are very, very powerful entities. We have the power to get materialism even in devotional service. We have that power. Through our obnoxious desires, we can do that. So one is externally I'm engaging activities of bhakti, the 64 angas, but internally I might have various obnoxious desires. And according to our acharyas, the obnoxious desire, which is equivalent to bathing in donkey urine or eating the stool of a hog, is Pujala Pratishtha. How's the description? So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur compares to Vishtha, Shukarera Vishtha, and Raghunath Das Goswami compares it to donkey urine. And both are very wonderful examples. Manashiksha Raghunath Das Goswami says, bathing in donkey urine. Anyone who desires Pujala Pratishtha is bathing in donkey urine. So, and anyone who desires Pujala Pratishtha, he is desiring Shukarera Vishtha. That is the hog stool. So these are the obnoxious desires. So obnoxious that it is compared to such wonderful examples, such wonderful things. So therefore, we might be rendering devotional service, but then internally, we have to analyze, what am I doing it for? And with time, we are supposed to modify that. Very, very important. Slowly and steadily, we should keep tweaking. When we realize, I did this for getting this, how obnoxious my desire is. You need not tell also to anyone. The self-introspection of a devotee. If these things are not happening, if self-introspection is not happening, how will you tweak the desires? If I'm not feeling guilty, how will we tweak desires? I'll be okay. What's wrong in it? I'm not committing any sinful activity. I'm doing bhakti only. But then, one cannot attain Kṛṣṇa. One cannot attain Kṛṣṇa Prema. Very, very unfortunate situation. Can you imagine someone joins Brahmachari ashram and he lives all his life in Brahmachari ashram and for Grihasthas, as full-time Grihasthas, and not attain Kṛṣṇa Prema and die? Such a pathetic situation. Giving up all the material enjoyment to attain Kṛṣṇa, but then you end up not attaining Kṛṣṇa. Yes. Now to give Kṛṣṇa Prema or no, that is Kṛṣṇa's sweet will, that we cannot do anything and we are not very keen to force Kṛṣṇa. But my endeavor should be proper, externally and internally. That is something that we have to keep reminding ourselves. That person will be called as a fixed up devotee. That is what is the last part of the purport, where Prabhupada quotes Taittiriya Upanishad 2.7. Esha hi eva nandayati yada hi evaisha etasmin na drishye natme anirukte nilayene bhayam pratistham vindate ta so bhayam gato bhavati. A living entity becomes established in spiritual blissful life when he fully understands that his happiness depends on spiritual self-realization, which is the basic principle of ananda, bliss, and when he is eternally situated in the service of the Lord who has no other Lord above him. So see this statement again. Who becomes established in spiritual blissful life when one understands that his happiness depends on spiritual self-realization, which is the basic principle of Ananda. Nice point that Prabhupada has mentioned, that only when one fully understands, he is very firm about this point, that the actual happiness is only in service to Krishna. It means he is not at all looking here and there for happiness. What does that mean? He is not getting into any sense gratification, nor he has desires for sense gratification. Because it's very clear that depending on or serving the Lord is the only source of happiness. There is no other thing. There is no other way one can get eternal bliss. Such a person is a fixed up devotee. He is fixed up, completely fixed up. Prabhupada writes, when he is eternally situated in the service of the Lord, such a person. Therefore, these people, they understand only one language, and that language is serving Krishna for his pleasure. There is no other language that these people understand. Only one language. Service to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. This is the only language. So therefore, if this question is asked after this entire description, if this question is asked that how to get rid of material desires, and the only answer is that you have to learn this language, a new language in this material world. The language with which we are familiar with, that language is sense gratification. Doing everything for one's own sense gratification. But the new language that we have to learn is serving Krishna for his pleasure. And when someone learns this language and lives his entire life speaking this language, that person will surely get rid of all the material desires, and that person will be able to attain the ultimate goal, which is devotional service, Bhakti. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.